So today I want to kind of like, I guess, do some death planning. And I thought that we could do it together. And maybe I could give you some ideas or help you out in things that you might not have thought of. Or just kind of, I don't know, help, I guess, in some way. So I got my little book. Figure we could do this together if you want to do this with me. Get a pen and a book and make some notes. So basically, obviously, everybody dies. The minute you're born, you begin to die. You will die. It doesn't matter what you do, you're gonna die. So might as well get ready for it. And when you get your things in order while you're alive, it makes it easier on the people that you love when you're gone. So what I'm gonna do is this won't be the first video. This is like, I guess this will be the first video in a series of videos, and we can do some death planning together. So get your notebook ready. I wrote my death plan. So there's a lot of things. I hope one day to actually be a doula or death midwife. And this is probably the beginning of my starting. I hope I could help people, and as I learn, I could help, and maybe there's other people who'll be like, wow, that sounds really cool. I'd like to do that too. So I think the first thing to do is start taking notes. How do you want okay, we'll start with the hardcore stuff. In the event of your death, how do you want to be handled? Do you want to be, let's say you get sick, you get cancer or some sort of terminal illness. There comes a point in your terminal illness where you might not be able to tell people what you want, and at that point it's too late. The hospital will try to keep you alive. That's how they make their money. Do you want to be resuscitated? What kind of resuscitation do you want? What kind of resuscitation don't you want? I think a good start is to write yourself a little note that you keep in your wallet, something that you have with you all the time, like whatever you have with you all the time, your wallet. I have a hard time sitting. Your wallet, your purse, whatever. You should just have a little note in there that says, in the event of my death, call whoever you want to be notified that you have died. Because you never know. You could go for a walk and get hit by a car. You don't know. Death is not picky. Nobody's death's coming. So, yeah, forget all the big words. Those are the things that I'm planning on starting to learn like advanced directives and things like that. But before all that, you might as well, what do you want your death to look like? You know, you got, nowadays there's so many options in for death. There's just so many options for death. So, I mean, we obviously know about traditional death, you know, the traditional burial with casket, embalming, being buried in a cemetery with a tombstone, cremation. But now there's so many other things. I just put on my Facebook a couple weeks ago that in the state of Washington, they just came out with human composting, which is like so super cool. And that's what I want to do. I want to be composted. I want to, you know, I'm a garden girl, so I'd like to feed plants. And you know, so like I said, there's the traditional where, you know, there's embalming and the expensive caskets, and you know, that can really put a damper on somebody. And it's just not the way to go anymore. I mean, you can if you want, but there's so many other things you can do. They now have aquamation, which is, crows are here. They now have aquamation, which is being cremated by water, in like water and like a solution, instead of being cremated by fire. So you go in this big cylinder and fills up with liquid, and the liquid dissolves all your tissue and leaves just bone. Here I'm on the roof. I put food out there for them already, so it leaves just bone, just like cremation. But I think, I don't know, I would have to see if, I think it would be really cool if it left just bone, if they could just like put your bones in a box and give them to your family members. I'll have to check on that and see, because it would be cool if they could keep my bones, or your bones, our bones, whole. You know, if you're like somebody who maybe you want to be made into jewelry, it's not illegal to own human bones. So that's a thought. There's so many, you know, different cultures. A really good YouTuber is Ask a Mortician, Caitlin Doty. I actually have one of her books. I wish I could have them all, but I don't have money for that yet. That's the crows. They're walking on the roof. They make me happy. I'm gonna forget what I said. I was like, oh no, Mom, there's hundreds of them. They're not gonna get you. Can you hear them? A little pitter patter. I get this gift every day. That's enough. Hey, that's enough. Thank you. I get this gift every day. Hundreds of crows fly in circles for like an hour. It's fantastic. Makes me happy. But anyways, death. Oh, speaking of death, you see my beautiful necklace my mom got me. Let's see if I can get it to focus. My mom got this for me. I love it so much. Okay. Enough dilly-dallying. They got me all distracted. So, there's so many aspects of death. I mean, you have to come to terms with the fact that you're gonna die. Point blank, you're gonna die. And do you want to make it smooth on your family? How do you want to die? There's so many different ways of death. I talked about aquamation, which is like cremation, but cremation by water. Regular cremation, traditional burial, human composting. That's, I think so far that's just in Washington State now, but obviously it's gonna roll. It's gonna spread throughout the country. Green burial, and I think green burial is fantastic. I think it would be so fantastic to have a green burial cemetery that just had wildflowers and lilies. Or a black cemetery. A black cemetery would have like black lilies and black flowers, and um, instead of tombstones, you'd have like rods that like have wind chimes on them. I don't know, solar lights. So many cool things. But anyway, let's get to it. So, um, say you have cancer or some terminal illness where you're going to get to the point that you're super, super sick and eventually you won't be able to say what you want. How long do you want them to keep you alive? Write that down. So, I will write, in the event of my death, not in the event of my death, in the event that I cannot make decisions for myself, here are my wishes. So, for me personally, I am a DNR, which is do not resuscitate. I would say that, and see, there's so many different kinds of DNR because you can have an accident, and if you need some, um, if you could come back without like all kinds of apparatuses or being in a coma for a while or anything like that, then do you want to come back? Do you want a feeding tube? Do you want an IV? You know, I mean, I guess if it was like something simple to where if all I needed was some IV fluids and some medications, then I think that's fine. But if they have to like jumpstart my heart or bring me back from death or have like false breathing, if they have to keep me alive with a machine, I don't want that. And so that's what I would say. I don't want to be kept alive by machines. So I am a DNR. But, you know, if they just have to give me an IV and some medicine and fix a couple broken bones, then that is a resuscitation that I do want. But if they're going to keep me in tubes and keep my heart falsely beating or my lungs falsely breathing, I don't want that. And so that's what I would write. But I'm going to go further down because I'm going to go here. And then there's paperwork. I keep trying to remember. When I get all the paperwork, I'll show you the paperwork and we'll fill out the paperwork together. But, so, what are my wishes? So, I don't know if many people know this, but if your loved one dies in the house, say your mom's at home with you and she's older and she's dying and she dies in the house, you don't have to call anybody really. Like, you can call the mortuary. You should have a relationship with your mortuary too, but you can call the mortuary and let them know that your mother or your family member has passed, but you can keep them home for a while. You just keep them cool, keep them on ice, and you can have them at home. You can wash them at home, you can dress them at home, you can take care of your dead. You don't need anybody's permission to do that. And if anybody tells you any different, they're fucking lying to you. You can take care of your own dead. That's what I would like to do if I had, family members around. I'd want to personally take care of my family members until I'm ready. I would keep them home for a few days and take care of them. And I have a personal relationship with death, and so to me it's very special. And I told my mom that I wanted to take care of her when she died, and she was like, "You stay away from me." So but okay, Mom. But you can take care of your dead, and that's not illegal. And green burial. So with a green burial, you would need a shroud, and you would also need I don't know. I don't know if you need a casket if you have a shroud, because they might be able to just put you in the hole in your shroud. But if you need a casket and a shroud, then there's casket companies that have such a variety of eco-friendly caskets. And actually, Caitlin Doty, Ask a Mortician, has videos on that, and I think she probably has links in her videos to places who make wicker caskets, seagrass caskets, Himalayan pink salt caskets, all kinds of cool things like that. And I think with my personal want being composted, I think that I don't even need a shroud, but possibly. So I think I would make my own shroud, and I'm thinking about getting ready to make my own shroud. And I think that your shroud has to be cotton. So I would have to go get cotton. I think what I would do is go to Joann's, and I would get black and purple cotton, black and purple and gray cotton, and I would just make a patchwork shroud, sew it all up. I think I'd have to use cotton thread too. And that would be cool. I mean, because I want to be composted, I might be wrapped in my shroud for a while my family says goodbye to me and whatever. Then I would have, they would probably take my shroud and put me in my composting area, and then I would give my shroud to my son. And probably I would have my compost, like after I'm done composting, have my compost, if I could, put it into bags and send it to family members. And then they could grow something from me. And so that's pretty cool. My brother had the idea of putting ashes into tattoo ink and getting a tattoo. They have ash trees where you get like a little tree that comes with their ashes, and you can go plant it and become a tree. So much cool stuff. And so my crows distract me, and I'm trying to focus on you, but my mind is going out the door. I'm trying to focus, but I'm having a hard time. Um, so yeah, so many cool things. So let's plan a funeral. So if you were to plan your own funeral, first, your funeral can be at home. You don't need to go to a funeral home. Your funeral can be at home. So let's say that you're going to have a home funeral. Do you want flowers? What's your favorite flower? What kind of flowers do you want around you? I want gardenias, jasmine, and black flowers. My black flowers from my garden. Black lilies and black irises. That's another thing. It would be really cool if they could take my compost, put it in a bag, and send it to my family members with like a bulb of a black iris or a bulb of a black lily, and then they can grow my favorite flowers out of my compost that is me. So that's really cool, and that's what I'd like to do. Um, make a playlist. What kind of music do you want played at your funeral? So, who's your favorite artists? Um, I like Angry Johnny and the Killbillies. I spelled Johnny wrong. I spell everything wrong. That's what happens when you drop out in the 8th grade. Yeah, I have a whole thing. See, and that, like, I would write my artists down, like my favorite artists. And obviously, you don't want every single song that your favorite artist ever made. So you would make like a list of your favorite artists and then the songs specifically that you want played at your funeral. And then you can actually create your own playlist before you go. That way nobody has to do it for you. And it's already set up and ready to go. And so with some flowers, some music, a shroud. You make your own shroud. Make a shroud before you die. Think about what you want. You can. I think pine boxes would be considered eco-friendly, but you can paint them. Build your own coffin. Paint your own coffin. Keep your coffin. Build your coffin, and then cover it with a sheet and use it as a table in your house until you're dead. And there's your coffin. You have your own coffin. And then, like I said, get to know what kind of things are legal in your area, because say you live in New York and you want to be composted. That sounds like something super cool and interesting that you're really interested in. Well, you're going to have to contact somebody in Washington, and I'll get that information and I'll make a video about that, because Washington at the moment is the only place that you can do it. Aquamation. There's some places that aren't doing that yet, and so you would have to Google states where aquamation is happening, and then you would have to make plans to be taken to that place. And then if your lifespan, say that your lifespan is up to 80 years, you can change your mind and change your plans. And maybe by the time you get old and get ready to die, if you haven't had an accident and died accidentally somehow, by that time maybe aquamation is happening in your area, and then you can have it where you live, where you want to be buried. Could be scattered at sea. You could have, I don't even know, are sea burials legal? I think maybe. Some people are asking about Viking funerals. Caitlin, she wants a sky burial. She wants to be eaten by animals. There's just so many cool ways to think about death, and you don't have to. It's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's sad to lose somebody that you love, but death is inevitable. Like my philosophy is that um, my tarot cards have a really good death because the death in my deck is a pregnant woman, and it makes so much sense to me because I think you could see the mother as death in a way, because to give life is to give death. And yeah, I don't even know where I went with that. My mind just totally went blank. You guys, they're making me forget. But yeah, to give life is to give death. So nobody's gonna live forever, and so you might as well. So many cool things going on nowadays with death. You know, it's not such a thing where you can't talk about it. You know, younger people are getting more hip to. Ooh, I lost my pen. Younger people are getting more hip to death. You know, we're more open to talking about it. We want to talk to our families about it, and a lot of times people who are older, through the whole freaking wall just comes up. You know, you just mention one little thing about death, and just boom, that wall comes down. No, and you know, it's not like that. It shouldn't be like that. And you know, I had a couple pretty hard and intense deaths in my life that have taught me a lot of lessons. One, my very first death brought me to the beginning of some crazy shit in my life. And my second death just threw me into another spiral and spit me out here. And here I am, having learned a lot of lessons. And yep, I learned a lot of lessons, and I'm prepared, more prepared. And I had to say that I have a different way of seeing death than others do. Sometimes I used to think that maybe. Hey, Odin, stop. People are outside taking videos of the crows. It's amazing. Like, there's literally hundreds, and they just fly in circles for like 2 hours. It's amazing. See, you just stop me. Yeah, man. It brings you to. I see death in a different way, and my cat just died. My cat died in October, and you know, I was with her at the vet, and I had to have her euthanized, and you know, I made her an urn, and it's just, especially when you love animals, you know, this, when an animal comes into your life, it's pretty much guaranteed that that animal is gonna die before you. And these are things that you need to be prepared for. You can't just expect something to live forever just because you want it to. And you know, she probably had 20 years under her belt, but she died at 7 because of an accident. And you know, so there's ways to celebrate death. How I'm celebrating her death and her life. I made her a beautiful urn. I have some projects that I'm getting ready to do in the springtime that I'll make videos for. And the pumpkin that I painted for her is still good. It's still sitting around. It's still kicking. In the springtime, I'm gonna carve it and I'm gonna grow some pumpkins in honor of her. And hopefully, from those seeds, I'll grow more pumpkins and more, and then I'll have a whole line, and I'll name them Lavender's pumpkins. I think that's super special. Good way to keep her alive. And I lost my pen, and so now I can't take notes anymore. I wanted to take notes, but it doesn't matter. I got off on a tangent. The crows got me distracted. And yeah, so I mean that's what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm 40 and I should have been dead at 25. Like the life that I lived, I left home at a very early age. I went to the streets of Hollywood. I was a street punk rocker, and then I started riding freight trains, and I rode freight trains for 20 years. And yeah, I should have been dead a long time ago. I should have been dead many times, and I'm lucky. I'm lucky I got all my teeth. You know what I mean? People who live the life I live don't live long, and if they do live long, they can get fucked up. They can be missing pieces of body parts. They could have damaged intestines. They could all kinds of things. Be a little fucking crazy. Yeah. So I'm like 25 years past my due date. So 20 years past my due date. I don't know, something like that. So, it's good to just prepare. And for somebody like me who lives outside, if I don't get the proper paperwork in order to give somebody instruction on what to do with me, and like possibly buy myself a spot in the composting area. I don't know. I think it's in Seattle where they're starting it, but they might have some in the Vancouver area with the human composting. So I want to, buy myself a spot so I can be composted. So I need to have these things prepared, because a person like me who lives outside, I could easily get put in a potter's field if I don't get my ducks in a row. So people like me, we just get put in fridges, and when it's time to cremate us with 500 other people and throw us in a big hole, that's what happens to people like me. And I don't want to go to Potter's Field. I don't want to be cremated with tons of other people. I want to be composted and turned into flowers. And so it is up to me to get that prepared. And so that's what I have to do for myself if I don't want to be in Potter's Field. And I'm sure my family members would probably step in if they even found out that I was dead. See, that's what I have to do, is I have to make a little note and keep it on my person that says, in the event of my death, call blah blah blah. And so somebody can be informed, because I'm not like other people. I don't have the life that other people do. And I could go outside at any time, and I could be hit by a car tomorrow and be dead, and somebody would have to figure out what to do with me. And I would prefer to be composted, and so I have to make those decisions for myself. I have to make those phone calls. I have to sign that paperwork. I have to, make a will. Before coronavirus happened, I was getting ready to get all those paperworks printed out at the library, but now it's not that easy anymore to get that paperwork. But I don't know, I'm just trying to get it all together, and then I'm gonna be contacting the people I need to contact and seeing if maybe there's a payment plan, and hopefully I could slowly pay a little bit of money until something's paid up, and then I can get like a certificate or something that says like, when I die I go here and this happens to me. And so that's my plan personally. But what are your plans? Think about it, because you have no choice. You really have no choice. You're going to die. Everybody you love is going to die. Everything's going to die. Make it fun. Make it what you want to make it. Make it something awesome. Make it something spooky. Make it something sparkly. Make it what you make it. You know, and in other countries they have cool coffins that they make where, like, if you were a fisherman, they'd make a big coffin that looks like a fish, and then they would bury you in that. Or, you know, if you were into cars, they would make a Cadillac and you would be buried in that. And it's just so many cool things. Um, they have great funerals in Louisiana. Jazz funerals are just the coolest freaking thing. And I love those glass horse-drawn hearses. Those things are so cool. And there's just so many cool ways to celebrate death. And death doesn't have to be, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Oh, let's talk about it later. Well, sometimes there isn't a later. And it's probably a good idea for everybody to talk about death, like now. And it's not that bad. It's just, oh, something else that I definitely want is, when I die, you know, my friends and my family, they can have me for a few days without having to send me anywhere. And so when I die, from the moment of my death till it's done, I want the Tibetan Book of the Dead played next to my body twice. And, well, actually, probably 3 times. I would go for 3, because I'm a 3 kind of girl. So, you know, that's something that I would have to do. And these aren't only things that, like, I need to make notes just for me to think about. These are things that I need to tell my friends and family about. Things that they need to know. Because as much as I can sit here and write little notes and fantasize about how awesome my death is going to be and how cool, it ain't going to do nothing if I don't do the paperwork, speak to the proper people that I need to speak to so that my body can go where it needs to go, or they're just going to do what they think is best. And maybe what they think is best isn't best for what I want. And so not only do I need to make these notes for myself, but I also need to talk to the people I love about what I want. And then when I have all the paperwork done, I need to make copies of that paperwork and give it to the people that I love. So that way when I die, they have it and they know exactly what I want. And they know that if something happens to me and I end up in a hospital and I'm all jacked up and they're trying to resuscitate me and they're trying to, you know, bring me back to life, that I don't want that. And I think most people who know me, my family, my friends, know that I don't want to be resuscitated. They know that. I don't want to be stuck up in a bed sucking on some machine air. I don't want it. I'd rather be dead. And I don't want to put everybody through all that. Like, it's a lot. It really is a lot to convalesce, I guess you say, to slowly die in a hospital, being kept alive when in reality your soul wants to leave, is a sad, hard thing for everybody around you to go through, you know, and your soul is having a hard time, you know, your family's soul is having a hard time. And sometimes it's best just to go and not hold people back. It's hard. It's hard on everybody. Death is sickness and death. And like, if I get sick, say I got cancer or something, I don't even know if I'd want chemo or anything. I'd probably just want to begin my death process. But if I cancer, the cancer that I experienced with my husband before he died was 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. And he had nasopharyngeal carcinoma, which is cancer of the head and the pharynx. And at that point, that was like, what? Like, they had no idea what they were doing. There was no hope. And basically, he was just a guinea pig. They had no idea what they were doing, but that was 20 years ago. Nowadays, they probably got little lasers. They can, like, shoot through your body and target something. Who knows? I mean, if I can take a couple treatments where I might lose some hair, might get a little sick, but I'll get better, then maybe I'll give it a shot. But if I'm gonna do what my husband did, I don't want that. I don't. It was sad, and he was only 23. And I was a widow at 20. I'd never been married since. But, you know, he had first he started with a peg tube, a tube in his stomach, and then that got infected. And they put a catheter in it's called a Hickman catheter. They put a catheter in his heart and fed him that way. And they were blasting radiation onto his face to the point where his tongue and his teeth fell out practically. He could go like this, and pieces of his tongue would fall off. And so he couldn't even put things in his mouth. He was always thirsty and hungry. He was just a young man, you know what I mean? It was sad and so hard. It was sad. And I don't think that I want to do that. And luckily for me, I am in a place where we have right to die out here. And so if it came to a point where I'm facing something like that, I would definitely be making all the right phone calls and have my little Kevorkian show up, because no, not only do I not want to go through that, but I don't want to put my family through that, because that shit ain't no fun. But that's my decision. That's not your decision. Your decision is your decision, and you have to decide what you want for your death, because your death is coming. And you just decide whether or not you want to make it hard. And if you have family members that you can't talk to because they just shut you down, talk to your friends, talk to people who you can talk to. There's somebody out there you can talk to. You can talk to me. I already told you before in some of the other videos I made, you can talk to me. I don't know if I can help you with paperwork, like your paperwork and like holding your paperwork, and if you died somebody would call me. I don't think I can go that far, but you can talk to me, and I don't know, maybe I could lead you in the direction that might help you. There's somebody out there for you in the category of death. You know, if you have nobody to talk to, there's somebody to talk to. There's doulas, which I want to be, which hopefully one day I will be knowledgeable enough that you actually can talk to me and I can help you do your paperwork and all that stuff. But right now I'm just figuring it out for myself. You know what I mean? And I think the first step in my journey to becoming this person that I want to be is to do it myself. When I worked in a tattoo shop and I apprenticed as a body modification artist, I had to get a lot of variety of different piercings myself, because how can you be a piercer if you don't know what it's like to be pierced? So, and I think that's one of my life lessons, is how can I be a woman of death without having the true life experience of death happening to me in many aspects, many times. And like I said, I was a widow at 20 years old. First time I got married, I was a widow within 3 years. And I think that was my first, like, hello, here's what you are. Welcome home. So, but yeah, get your little notebook, just jot down some things, some nice things. Think about what kind of music you'd like to have at your funeral. Think about, what do you want to wear? Do you want to be dressed up pretty? You want your nails did? You want your hair did? What do you want? Music. Make yourself a playlist. Sew yourself a shroud. Think about how you want to be disposed of. Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be thrown into the ocean? Do you want to be thrown in a hole? You want to be eaten by animals? There's so many things. And like I said, I should do a video on like my favorite death YouTubers, because I'm sure everybody by this point knows who Ask a Mortician, who Caitlin Doty is, but there's other out there too. And I listen to all kinds of death podcasts. I listen to the Conversations on Death is a podcast that I listen to, and there's 3 or 4 other ones. I should put a playlist together. I have all kinds of like witchy podcasts and podcasts on death and plant medicine and all kinds of things like that. And then make my own playlist. I'll tell you guys my playlist. I should make a playlist, like a Spotify playlist, and then share it on my Facebook. And that will be like my death playlist. And then when I die, it'll just be right there on Facebook. Anybody could just snatch it up and play it. So, yeah, that's me getting super distracted because my crows showed up, and trying to talk about death. And I hope that in some way I helped you to think about death. Think about death in all kinds of different ways. Think about death as it's sad to lose a body of somebody that you love, but it's also very special and something to be cherished and honored. So, check out my flower. Death flower. Ooh.